Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis in an odd off-week situation where we're not really doing any work, so here's some shit we shout out. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
And I'm Alistair, my pronouns are he and him.
And we're going to be talking about some prestige TV. I've been watching Game of Thrones all the way through the last few weeks. Don't ask why. I just said don't ask why. And
you think Jamie's going to heed advice like that?
You're not the boss of me.
I think we've wanted to talk about like prestige TV for a little while, and this isn't really going to be it probably, but we'll make a stab at it because fuck it, we've got some content to put out, and we're all here and we've got some time, so let's do it. It buys us a week off between Christmas and New Year. So rather than scour whatever the fuck's on HBO, I thought let's have a look elsewhere. So we have asked Sinan to come on to speak to us about some Turkish prestige TV. Sinan.
That's right. Hey everyone, how we doing? Not a book this time, so everyone can relax.
Yeah, there aren't any books this cool, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose I should do the pronoun thing, right? I keep forgetting you do that. Yeah, it's they, them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I remembered pronouns. I remembered exactly two words. Not even two words. The same, like two different forms of the same word.
Yeah.
I always say to James that they, them is the hard mode of pronouns, and you managed to nail it, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Yep. But yeah, we talked about this a bit on a piece at home bonus, actually, I think.
Yeah.
And it drove everyone suitably insane. Which is good. Well, actually, I think it was just one of the me and Jamie ones when Ben was off doing whatever they do on that island they live on. I don't know. The even more normal island off the coast.
Cultivating some kind of lung disease?
Yeah, by the sounds of it. I hope they're okay, because it sounds really bad. But yeah, I found some Turkish prestige TV shows. It's kind of a new genre of thing that came out in Turkey, where they suddenly started making these high-production dramas. The ones I showed you are sequel series, because they're sort of funnier than the original ones. They sort of take a more clownish Turkish Star Wars-y vibe in some elements of it, which is good.
When I was watching the clips that you put in our DM, I was actually sort of thinking, like, this is actually quite... like, sometimes the audio is a little shonky, but like otherwise, the production value is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
like, I'll be honest, my expectations weren't high.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, this is sort of a new wave of Turkish TV. I think like the first proper version of these shows that are like high production drama sort of things. Not high production, but high production value, like good camera, good audio, good sort of costumes and stuff. I think it was probably Fatma Gül'ün Suçu, which is, it's a really, really grim show, so I didn't share any of it. There's nothing funny about that show. I also don't like it. So, but it was, like, the first Turkish show that, like, got mass, like, marketing outside of Turkey. So it was big in, like, the Balkans and stuff, and in the Baltics. And, like, my partner, like, knew all of the Turkish TV shows I was mentioning to her, because they were on TV there, because they were the only good TV shows that their TV stations could afford to buy the license for. It was either that or Russian TV, and they weren't fans of it even in like 2008. So they just got all the Turkish stuff in.
I have to say, I would love to see Russia's vision for like a Russian Game of Thrones or something along those lines.
This is the thing. Like my partner and I both like. We like A Song of Ice and Fire, we like the books, and we liked the TV show up until a certain point, but I think we'll get into that a bit later. But she keeps saying, like, oh, if only the people who did Muhteşem Yüzyıl, which is the prequel to that one with the Emperor who slaps people, if only the people who did that did Game of Thrones, because the episodes are like 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long, but also none of it is filler, is kind of it's the insane thing. So you basically, each episode is a movie in itself. So and there are like 180 episodes of it. So it's insane.
And how much slapping is in there?
In Muhteşem, in the original Muhteşem Yüzyıl, I don't think there was much slapping. I think there was like a bit of slapping. Like, I don't think the Emperor did much slapping in that one. But there was another one I showed you, which was Payatat Abdülhamid, I think it was. I forget which one of the loser emperors they're depicting in that one. But he slaps a British ambassador because of a train being redirected. Which, given the situation in the UK, I guess, is topical to an extent. But yeah, that show is really, like... And all of these shows are kind of propaganda pieces anyway. They're all sort of reflecting the values of a particular type of Turkish person. Because there's... so basically, Turkey under Erdogan got quite a bit richer. Like, its GDP tripled before the financial crash. So from 2002 to 2008, GDP tripled. Which is insane. Like, no country had growth on that level, really, anywhere. So there's now a new middle class, and the middle class wants to watch TV. But a lot of that middle class is like, what my parents would call Anatolian dipshits. Because they're from Istanbul, and they don't like town people. Anywhere with less than 1 million people in it's a fucking town, and they hate it. Which is why they chose to live in Reading. Rip them, I guess. But yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of parallels between... a certain phase of Turkey, the state of Turkey and Britain. So it's all sort of falling into place, I think.
Yeah, it's Normal Peninsula.
Normal Peninsula, yeah. And obviously I came up with a good one for America, which was Manifest Normality, which I thought was really good. Like, I think that's really good, but if there's no American equivalent of Praxis Cast, so no one can have that.
Yeah, it's a little it's a little podcast you might have heard it. I think it's called Chapo Trap House. You know.
I love that whenever anyone discovers like a left-wing, like shitposty vibe British podcast, like it's Chapo, and I'm like, there are way fewer slurs like being said here. Like, don't worry. But yeah, so I showed you 3 shows. I really showed you 2 main shows, but I mainly showed you like I showed you Muhteşem Yüzyıl Kasem, which is named after Kasem Sultan, who... There's this period of time in the Ottoman Empire called the Sultanate of Women, where basically all of the, like, sultans were, like, incapable dipshits. Like, just completely useless. They'd be drinking a lot, they'd be, like, insane, or something like that. Like, you know, like, they'd go around slapping people, for example.
Yeah.
Is that a representative amount of slapping?
The thing is, the way there's something interesting about the way these shows depict history. Because with Kasem, like with this Muhteşem Yüzyıl Kasem, we know a lot less about Sultan Murad's like inner life than we do about Suleiman, which is why I didn't show you the first show, because the first show is largely like based on the actual things we know about him, because Suleiman was like a poet and he wrote a lot. And that show's great because there was actually a complaint to the Turkish like broadcast regulator. The Supreme Board of Television and Radio, as it's called in Turkey, which is very normal.
It's so much fucking better than Ofcom.
Yeah, like it's good, right? But it's also a bit, I suppose, a bit it's sort of like exaggerating its own importance a little bit.
It sounds very much like they should have a Death Star.
Yeah, and many believe they do. But there was actually a complaint. I'm going to try and find the exact text. Yeah, here we go. So there was, so basically a bunch of 70,000 complaints were made about the show. And a lot of them referred to it as disrespectful, indecent, and hedonistic portrayal of the historic Sultan. And the Supreme Board of Radio and Television came out and were like, look, we received 70,000 complaints. So the TV channel that ran it originally was called Show TV. And they go, you have to publicly apologize for wrongly exposing the privacy of a historical person. Like that. Like, I'm sorry, the motherfucker's dead. Like, I don't want to be that guy about it. He's dead. I don't think he's going to mind too much.
He's dead and historical. So, you can't really not expose his, like, life.
Also, like, I don't want to be that guy about it, but if he didn't want his life to be made into a TV show, he simply should not have written extensive volumes of poetry under an anonymous handle that we know is him, because he's too much of a dweeb to, like, hide his handle properly. For people who wonder what Suleiman the Magnificent's poetry handle was... I gave you all
the clues, Mr. Historian.
Yeah, he did. His handle was Muhibi, which means lover. So, you know, he's a real, like angsty teenage kind of vibe to it. But yeah, but this show was really popular in Turkey. It was insanely popular abroad, and Erdogan even had to condemn the show because he said it was showing history in a negative light to younger generations, which I don't think is true. I think it's like actually a pretty solid piece of propaganda to have interesting TV shows made about your history. And
I mean, it's something that I mean, like the West, exerts soft power through thinly, well, I'll say not even thinly veiled in many cases, like propaganda in the forms of like, Marvel and all that shit, and like like lower scale stuff like TV series, like prestige TV series. I mean, there are just too many to count, really. So exerting influence in that way is like. And choosing not to do that, pretty much, is kind of an interesting decision to make.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about these TV series is they are really popular in. So Muhteşem Yüzyıl and Muhteşem Yüzyıl Kösem are really popular in the former Ottoman Empire. So like the Balkans and the Middle East and North Africa, and also now apparently the Baltics and stuff like that. But they're really popular there because it's their history as well, right? Like this is this is their history as well to an extent. And the thing that's interesting about Erdogan not liking it is these shows really like put the like Muslim value element of it to the forefront. Like in the show, in Muhteşem Yüzyıl, the original show, Hürrem, who Europeans call Roxolana, but is Suleiman's favorite concubine historically and in the show, tricks Suleiman into marrying him. Because she tricks him into freeing her as a slave, because that's what all the harem girls were, they were slaves. And then she goes, actually, you can't have sex with me until we get married, because I'm a free woman, not a slave, so you're going to have to marry me now. So basically she used the horny on main emperor to become an actual empress. Whereas, like, his original, like, wife was fucking fuming about it, and there's this great court intrigue about, trying to put your son on the throne because there's no legal succession law. Well, there is a succession law. There's a succession law which is that the first son who reaches Istanbul gets to be emperor and then has to kill his brothers. By the way, that's real. That's the real succession law of the Ottoman Empire. So you could tell who the preferred heir was by what governorship they were given. So if you were given, like, Manisa, like Suleiman was, which is, like, in Anatolia, but not too close to Istanbul, you're kind of like, okay, maybe I want you to be the emperor. We'll see how it goes. But obviously, Suleiman's dad killed his brothers because they rebelled against him. So it was kind of a done deal at that point. So they just left him in Manisa. But if they put you in, like, I don't know, Egypt, I mean, that's like a 2-month journey by boat. You're fucked. You're gonna get killed, right?
Yeah.
It's over. If you were the Ottoman Emperor's son and you got put in Egypt, not that they ever gave Egypt to the sons because it was complicated, but if you got put somewhere like, Palestine, done, you're gonna die. You're counting down, basically. So you have no choice but to rebel at that point, otherwise you will be murdered. And all your kids will be murdered. And your wife will be murdered. Well, not the women children. Your daughters will be fine, but your sons and you and your wife will all be killed. So you have to revolt. It's not a good system when you think about it.
No,
actually.
No, I can see a few flaws.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, members of the...
I will say, though, it would be very funny if the British royal family adopted that rule.
Yeah, well, I mean, wouldn't that mean Charles has to kill Andrew publicly?
Specifically having to go to Istanbul as well.
Yeah, like having to get a flight out to Istanbul to get girded as the emperor. Oh, no. But yeah, so
there was... for billionaires as well. First person to make it to Little St. James.
But yeah, so like the AKP even had like MPs who came out and were like, we want to outlaw these types of shows that misrepresent historical figures, but they ended up not doing it because it turns out these shows are really popular. People really like these shows. And Muhteşem Yüzyıl was probably like the main really, really, really popular one in the Balkans. But the other show I showed you was one called Kuruluş Osman, which is the sequel to Diriliş Ertuğrul. So like it's kind of a complicated thing, but Osman is the founder of the Ottoman dynasty, hence, Ottoman, Osman, makes sense, right? And the thing with that show is, it's really popular. It's not popular in, like, the former Ottoman Empire, because it's not depicting an Ottoman Empire that's part of that history. It's really popular in, like, Pakistan in particular. which I find very odd.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever TRT, which is like the Turkish state TV thing, they go out and they interview people they interview like foreign people about the shows, and it's always like Pakistani people being like, oh yeah, you know, it depicts great family values and Islamic values and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like most of that show is like, Osman shows up, beats the shit out of an old man, and then ranks up. Like, I'm not even kidding. I kind of compare that one more to Vikings than to, like, Game of Thrones. So there's, like, Turkish Vikings and Turkish Game of Thrones, if you like.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they're all sat around with the sick song playing?
Yeah, that song is really good.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that guy playing...
I enjoyed the little flashback part in that where... Yggdrasil, the world tree, grows out of him while he's lying down.
But that's
that sun language theory?
Well, not quite. That's actually a for real myth, by the way. That's not like a thing the showrunners put in. There's this myth about Osman, which is that when one night he dreamt of a great tree springing from his chest, because that represented the like lineage he would leave behind in the Ottoman Empire.
All right.
It's like a legitimate like myth that they put in there about him, and it wasn't some language theory so much as there is a bit of it going on, I guess, because in that show they make a big deal of like he's not leading the Ottoman Empire, obviously he's leading something called the Kaya tribe at that point, which is sort of, it still exists actually. That tribe sued a political party in Turkey for copying their like their sort of runic symbol as their party logo, which I find very funny because I don't really understand. It's not like, I think they did do it on purpose, and I think they did absolutely copy it. But so I'll show you what I'll do is I'll show you the flag of the tribe.
Oh, I'm gonna lose my shit if the picture you post here is BAP.
I like how that's the one thing you remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll put it in like podcast guest view. So this is the flag of the tribe, right? So that's like a runic symbol that means Kaya in Old Turkic, right? Like that's just like it's kind of like Japanese, where like the symbol just means that. It doesn't represent any letters or anything. And then
for the listeners at home, the symbols are like IYI,
E.
E. Yeah, E. And now this is the logo of the party. I don't know how this is going to look on... but yeah, look at the bit on the right is really what you're looking at here.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah, E. E means, by the way, good. So this is the good party.
The good...
I'm not even... And by the way, this is the fourth biggest party in Parliament. It's the second biggest party in the opposition alliance. And it is ostensibly a liberal centre-right party that believes in secularism and liberal democracy, but it's led by a woman called Meral Akşener, who is a former fascist who personally oversaw the depopulation of Kurdish areas of Turkey.
Well, it's not like fascists to lie.
No. And also, I keep seeing like pieces in like lib European publications that are like, Meral Akşener, she's gonna save Turkey. And I'm like, her electorate are fascists. They're lying to you. How are you this stupid? Like
Anyway. That tribal flag there looks like one of those fucking optical illusions they post on Twitter occasionally, you know, where it's like a lamp against a fucking flesh-tone wall. And everyone's like, whoa, I was about to risk it all.
Are you saying you want to bang the Kaya tribe logo? Is that
maybe?
I think I might be a member of that. I think I might be a member of that tribe, so I don't know if I'm offended or not. There are like 2 million people who are a member of it, so I don't know. There's some statistical
They could
chance.
all like just form a queue in my garden to give me the slap.
Yeah, the Ottoman slap coming to Jamie. But yeah, it even says split from Nationalist Movement Party, which is a far-right ultra-nationalist political party. Which, yeah, I mean, I suppose that is where a liberal party would split from. I fucking hate... I hate Meral Akşener, so, like, this is a thing that I'm saving for the piece at home. Because I fucking hate this particular party and this particular woman so much. But I hate the party she split from more, so I kind of put up with it.
Imagine
a shitpost left party called the Bad Party, just to be, like, you know...
the Bad Party. Well, that would just...
home the irony.
To be fair, you'd get in trouble for that, I think. You're not allowed to use negative words in your party name, I don't think.
Just flip the P upside down
party.
on BAP. Just rotate the P on BAP.
Yeah,
It's a D.
the bad party. And to just keep the Jaguar jumping through the drum. Don't
Yeah.
even change that. I think we're legally allowed to make merch of that because that party's defunct and no one owns the logo. So
Nice.
we should probably do that, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I've just looked up the E-Party position on NATO, which is that it's crucial for it to be part of the Western Bloc, which I'm not into at all.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
Just imagine though if this fascist woman wins an election, and then you have like fucking think pieces from every Western journalist talking about how she's like it's such a win for like girl bosses everywhere.
we came really close. Like there was a point in the last presidential election where she looked like she'd come in second, and that it was going to go to a runoff. But mercifully, she didn't get to the runoff because there wasn't one, and the Republican People's Party candidate, who was a former physics teacher who turned out to be a complete dipshit after the election, like outperformed his party by like 12% or something, and did quite well because he just went around being a vaguely normal dude, and it turned out people kind of responded to that.
Yeah, people like that. Look.
Yeah, people like vaguely normal dudes. Also, is this your
Physics
liberal
teachers,
hero?
geography teachers, yeah.
Yeah, is this your liberal hero? Actually, to be fair, the physics teacher thing was used as a slight against him. Because I heard people say, you know, if he was any good at physics, he wouldn't have been a physics teacher. Which
down in the physics mines.
That's it. Yeah, this is how people think in Turkey. I'm afraid, but yeah, I will say that I there is a section on the death penalty. Her party's death penalty policy, which is they're in favour of reinstating the death penalty. And
you can only say good because it's coming from the good party.
Yeah, yeah. And they think, in fact, they have two very specific instances of the death penalty. There should be death penalty for terrorism crimes and violence against women. That's it. Those are the only two cases where death penalty is applicable, apparently.
They should run over here.
Oh, they would smash it.
The politically homeless would be overjoyed.
Oh yeah, like aside from they want to join the EU. You know, they don't want to protect animals necessarily. They're really into women's rights on a superficial level.
Wow, I wonder how this political bloc would enmesh itself with Fortress Europe, because I'm not seeing any similarities whatsoever.
Yeah, like. Huh. The thing is, Turkey has like a particular role in Fortress Europe, which is as the door gatekeeper. Basically, Turkey is basically Europe's bouncer for refugees. And what Turkey's desperately trying to do is make Syria Europe's bouncer so that it can kick all of its refugees out. And this is a party for people like that, but who don't want to say it out loud. There is a party for people who say it out loud there, but that party's led by a fucking cunt. Like, I really fucking hate that guy as well. I hate everyone in Turkey, senior in politics, apparently. It's just like generally really despicable political class, much like the UK, actually. But yeah, that guy is a real piece of shit. Ümit Özdağ, I really fucking hate him. He basically, Jamie will remember, we talked about the Istanbul pogrom on Peace at Home.
Yeah.
He basically justifies it. He tries to justify it. He says it was probably fine. It's probably justified, you know.
I mean, again, the parallels are... I was going to say shocking, but like really rung very deep with the political class here, don't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is a reason these I say Japan, Turkey, and Britain are the same country, and you know, especially because of this, because apparently the Good Party explicitly denies genocide as well. So I don't even understand the need for that other dickheads party. These people cover it as well. I suppose that's why they're polling 4% instead of like 50 or whatever. But still. Anyway, I fucking hate this party. So that tribal symbol, Kaya, is from that. Bit of a digression from the TV shows there. But it's Christmas, we can do that, you know?
Yeah.
We can do what the fuck we like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No what are you going to do? It's fine.
What are you going to do? Listen to another podcast? I don't think so. But yeah, like, these shows are big, and the sort of thing about that Osman show is it depicts a really weird period in Turkish history that doesn't get taught much in schools, aside from basically the way Turkish history gets taught to Turkish people, or like at least the popular conception of it is like the Gökturks in Central Asia, then Seljuk, who conquers like Persia and Anatolia, then it's the Sultanate of Rum, then it's like question mark because they don't want to admit they got owned by the Mongols and Genghis Khan, then it's Osman. Then it's like question mark, we didn't do anything from 1876 to 1923. then it's the Republic. That's basically how it gets taught. And this is kind of set in a question mark period, where they're all nominally vassals of the Ilkhan in Iran, which is like one of the 4 divisions of the Mongol Empire at the time. And one of the main story arcs is them beefing with the Ilkhan and like beating him in battle, and then just getting to be independent of him. So there's just like this whole thing where they just start imposing these really weird anachronistic ideas of like Turk, right? It's like Turkish nationalism, but in a time when no one would have thought about it. Because like nation state as we imagine it's like a modern thing. It's not like a 1290 thing.
Yeah.
But they're acting like it's a 1290 thing because they have like so the Ilkhan they depict is a guy called Gehatu, who was he was the Ilkhan for like 5 years because he inherited the throne at the age of 65. Stop me if that sounds familiar. And his whole thing was he was made the governor of Anatolia with his uncle, and so he was based out of a city called Erzincan, which is in eastern Turkey. And his whole like thing is that the whole thing the actual historical Gehatu is famous for is being super tolerant and like having quite a peaceful reign, where the only person who revolted against him was his son, who killed him and then took the throne off it. Which is like, whatever.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, well...
William finally gets a bright idea.
William watches the Turkish prestige drama and goes, that's very interesting. What if?
So what if what's this about having to go to Istanbul?
Yeah, what if I got to Istanbul before my father and killed him there? Like, completely misinterpreting what the thing was.
I'm just imagining this guy had like a really peaceful like 5-year reign because he was just sat around watching Countdown. I
mean, okay, so Gehatu is famous for being a drunk.
Signing up for life insurance so he gets a free pen from Michael Parkinson.
He's actually famous for being a drunk, like constantly drinking. And he was like nominally Muslim as well. So like he's doing the thing. The thing is happening again.
It's an age-old tradition.
Yeah, everyone thought he was secretly Christian, which I'm not sure is true. I think it was just that he left Christians alone, and everyone's like, what if he was Christian, though? I'm like, what if he was? Who gives a shit? He was the Ilkhan. He would show up with a bunch of horse archers and murder everyone in your town if you said anything about it. Like, what do you want?
The good old days.
Yeah. but this entire arc of this show is basically, Gehatu's son is missing, who's Baidur. And to be fair, Gehatu would probably be okay with this in real life, because like I said, his son revolted against him and killed him. So, he would probably be essentially fine with it. But he shows up to the clip I shared with you was him showing up to the Kaya camp and just basically berating people. Yeah. Just there wasn't any English subtitles for it, because this show's not like marketed towards markets where English is predominantly spoken. So there is like an Urdu dub of it and stuff like that, but there's no English subtitling of it other than YouTube.
It's not for the Western dog.
No. It's not. It's not even for the Balkan. It's not, because it's like because you can even see it in the camp. They have that like crescent moon with the sort of bit for it on all the flags. That's not an Islamic symbol. That's a Tengriist symbol. That's actually kind of a modern symbol. Actually, that's the Tengriist cross. That's kind of a modern thing. But the whole vibe is that like they're trying to acknowledge that these people probably weren't as Muslim as people think, while like still portraying them as like good Muslim values, and you know they all look after each other and stuff. But like the truth is that like no one fucking knows whether any of these people were like secretly doing sky burials or not. No one fucking knows. And he but this whole thing, like, you know, Gehatu shows up and there are the Mongol Empire flags, because, you know, he's a descendant of Genghis Khan. And he threatens to flay the guy he sent to punish this local tribe of Turks. And I find it really funny that he relates to them as, he calls them Turk constantly. Because it's kind of leading into this Turkish nationalist vibe of, like, the Turkish state has existed forever. Like, the official Turkish state position is that its military was founded in the 2nd century BC. That is the official state position. That, like, not its military band was founded then. Which doesn't make any fucking sense. At all. I don't think that, like, horse archers were going around with a military band following in the 2nd century BC. I just don't believe it.
Would have made Rome a much more interesting TV show.
Yeah. Well,
bunch of guys with like brass instruments just piling out of a fucking DeLorean.
Yeah, I mean, I can show. I mean, you can see why I'm skeptical, because if I show you one of the songs, like the Mekter band, hold on, let me find a video of the entire band. There's like a thing they did with the Red Army, so I'll see if I can find that. Yeah, the world's oldest living music band. Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah. Here you go.
It does make it sound like these people have been literally the same people have been in this band for over 2,000 years.
Yeah, for over 2,000 years, which isn't true. Yeah, here you go. That's a really poor. That's 13 years old. That video. Fucking hell! No wonder it looks like it's shit. Here you go. Yeah, there's a reason I don't believe this. I'll share the video here, but you can just sort of. You don't have to listen to the music, thankfully. But like, you can just look at the picture. Even there's a reason I don't believe this is a 2,000-year-old war band with the same instruments and stuff. There's just some reason I don't buy it. But yeah, they're doing real good.
I'm trying to work out what they're all carrying.
They're carrying horsetail banners. So this is an actual thing. You even see it in the show. So like the horsetail banners are like a sign of an army on the march, basically. It's to sort of guide the army on its march.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, they're carrying horsetail banners, and they've got a guy with a sword and stuff. And yeah, it's like the longest fucking procession of people I've ever seen. I suppose it's to imitate when the Ottoman army would leave Istanbul, like for campaign, because it would be like 100,000 people just with each bit with a band of its own, telling them how to march, because that's a marching tune, right? So it's just insane numbers of people. But yeah, these shows are really well produced, really actually quite entertaining. Like the Ertuğrul and Osman one are more my speed because they're a bit more like Vikings. But yeah. I do get why people like Muhteşem Yüzyıl and Kösem. Like Kösem is great because you get like the scene where where he comes back from conquering Baghdad, and the mum who's in charge of the empire, really in reality, it just notices one of her sons is a bit thin. She's like, "Oh, thank God he's home though." Like it's just the subtitles like, "Thanks Allah."
I really fucking enjoyed that. Cheers,
yeah. Yeah, cheers. Or I also really like the bit in the Emperor Cop one where there's the official who's taking bribes and his face when he's taking the bribe.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, God, yeah, give me.
That's a real smirk, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit. Like he's just like, give me the money. Give me the money.
Yeah, money.
Yeah. Also, there was another screen cap you all found, which was the episode title, but I don't remember which video that's in. So,
I think that was the first one where the guy gets back from Baghdad.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mum plotting against him.
Who was the on the one where he like fucking kills the judge for taking bribes?
Yes.
Who were those guys at the end that were like fucking
getting
the cob on about like one of them being killed or something?
Oh yeah, the ulema, right? Yeah. So like the ulema are like the organized clergy under the Ottoman Empire, and like as a general rule, you can't really kill members of the ulema. It's kind of frowned upon. Which is why they're like, wait a minute, how can one of us be killed? We're not allowed to be killed. We're the people who enforce the law. But obviously you're not, because, like, what happened? The guy was going to take a bribe, right?
Like, do you know what I mean? You can't go around taking bribes in front of Sultan Gives No Fucks.
Yeah, like, he will come and... I do like some of the English translations here, because they've not done it properly.
Oh yeah, it's total.
Are you trying to tell me that Sinan Snake is in the dungeon is not an accurate translation of what happened?
No, I wasn't banging people in the dungeon in like 17 whatever. Like, I wasn't in Sultan Murad's dungeon fucking people. Strangely, but I think there are lots of Sinan Pashas historically, and a lot of them were traitors and treasonous and did plots. That is true.
And the line continues to this day.
Yeah, a lot of them were like Serbian as well, so I don't want to get into that discourse because then it really will become some language theory. But yeah, there was actually quite a famous. This is kind of completely off topic, but there was quite a famous pirate called Sinan Reis, who was a Jewish pirate operating under the Ottoman Empire, and he's super fascinating. I just tell that because it's a super fascinating guy who just wanted to plunder the Spanish.
Yeah.
And the Brits.
Sinan just like, I wish that were me.
I do wish that were me. Like, being a Barbary Corsair was probably the best, like, you could get back then. Reasonably sure some members of my family got in on that action, to be fair. But anyway, there's a reason I look so good in the pirate costume, after all. So, guess who fucked it? .jpeg.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, like, you know what I mean? Some guy stood on the fucking, like, deck of a ship going, well, I fucked it, lads.
Yeah, it's just like the ship's on fire. And
guess who raided the Barbary coast?
Guess who accidentally raided Rome and got the ships destroyed? That did.
Sinan Pasha made a fucky wucky.
I find that really weird in that Payatat show, the one where he slaps the English ambassador, because they're acting like pashas are ministers.
Yeah.
They're like, we made the deal with your pashas, and I'm like, that's not. It kind of is it's a military title. It's a thing you get at a particular rank, is you get to be called pasha. And one of the funny things about like foreign language coverage of the Ottoman Empire at the time is like there's like old copies of English newspapers you can read in archives, and they keep thinking that pasha is a surname. So they assume they keep going, the Pasha family sure is influential in Constantinople. And I'm
yeah, it's like how everyone calls each other Bey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bey means chief, like, and it's because
according to Google it means gentleman.
It means that now, but like so like Bey is like there's a lot of formality rules in Turkish. So Turkish is a language that has formality rules. So, like, you say things in certain ways, and you address people in certain ways, depending on stuff. So, like, it's weird for me, because whenever I, like, meet Turkish people who are younger than me, they'll call me Abi, which means, like, older brother. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't like, formality rules. It's a general sort of point. Or, like,
Would you rather they called you Sinan Chan or something?
No.
Just adopt the Glaswegian rules of it's mate or cunt.
Yeah, exactly.
Whichever one of those is a good thing.
Yeah,
it's context dependent.
So they do call me Abi sometimes. That's why. So for people who watch like Hassan on Twitch, that's what Hassan Abi. Abi means like older brother. So that's where his name comes from, I guess. And he also gets a lot of really weird Turkish people in this chat. I was watching. I have to confess, I watch Hassan sometimes, and I catch up on some of the highlights. And he was doing unban requests recently, and he gets a lot of weird Turkish people in his chat, constantly typing in the Turkish euphemistic term for masturbation in his chat, because it's just 31, so it doesn't come up in any, like, auto block or anything. So, like, in Turkish, it's like, "otuz bir çekmek," which means to pull 31, which is the Turkish term for jerking off, basically, which is really fucking weird. And
I need to know the etymology. Why 31?
I don't know. This is the fucking thing. I don't think anyone knows.
Because
somebody at Susie Dent.
because 31 is the age at which women officially become MILFs. We know this.
I mean, as a point of order, I think women, like in popular culture, women become MILFs at about 24.
Yeah, yeah. Oh god, I'm not looking forward to some conversations along this line, but yeah, I actually remember a friend of mine who did the graphics of Piece of Home and stuff shared me a clip of like an old Turkish film, like an old Turkish film from like the 60s or 70s, like it was on potato quality and stuff. And it's about a prisoner who was super horny, and he was trying to bang this woman who was interviewing him. And she's like, what? She's like, and he basically says, "I'm tired of pulling 31," which is like in prison because he can't get laid. Because obviously he'd have to bang a dude, I guess. It'd be a whole thing. So I can't bang a dude, so I just jerk off in the shared cell loudly, like because that's less gay than the other thing I could be doing. But yeah, he's like intensely horny character. It was really fucking disconcerting. And there is like a type of character.
His cellmate yelling at him, "Can you just count in your head?"
Yeah. Then maybe that's what it is, But it's like one of the funniest. Like, I'm sorry to everyone who didn't want to learn what the Turkish euphemism for jerking off was, but now you know.
This is what they tune in for. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, they tune in specifically for this.
Yeah, language and culture is a fascinating topic. So these are the things you have to learn.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna learn a language, you've got to learn all the euphemisms for jerking off. Otherwise, you haven't learned it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start just posting nice anytime I see the number 31 on Twitter.
But the thing is, that's not even like a nice sex act. It's just you jerking off. I don't think that's like
care.
That. I might try and sneak the number 31 into a YouTube video and see if anyone catches on to it. Maybe into that one I'm doing about Owen Jones. Voting for Labour. Yeah, sorry.
Can we talk about Cop Emperor?
Yes. What do you want to know about Cop Emperor? Like,
what's his fucking deal? Why is he so raj all the time?
Okay. All right. Okay. So, like, the thing
he is
about
the law, David. Like, you got to respect his authority.
that is basically it. So, like, the whole thing is that Sultan Murad, he comes into power and he comes into his throne, and his mum is really powerful. His mum is Qasem Sultan, the titular Qasem, right? She's really powerful, and he is constantly having to exercise his authority against his mum's authority, basically, and against, like, and one of the main things, so, like, you might be wondering, like, why is tobacco and coffee illegal? Like, part of the reason is because he thinks that the Safavids, which is the Persian Empire to his east, are trying to, like, trying to economically dominate him by selling tobacco and coffee to people. So he bans it. And so he assumes anyone who's drinking coffee or tobacco has got it from, like, someone who's doing deals with Iran, and so is a traitor. And part of it, there's, like, a really good explainer of it, where he brings that guy to that tavern, and he goes, like, the point isn't whether the bans are justified or not. The point is whether my subjects obey me. And this is kind of in his actual reign, like, his actual historical reign is one of the neuroses he has. Because he thinks everyone is secretly obeying his mum and what his mum says. Which they were, to be clear. They were doing that. Like, they should... And by the way, I'm always fascinated by the casting of what in Turkish they call Valide Sultan, which is the Queen Mother, if you like. And I'm always fascinated by the casting, because they always seem to pick, like... So in the original Muhteşem Yüzyıl, it was like Miss Turkey 1960, and she was in her 80s, but, you know, my partner was like, didn't refuse to believe she was in her 80s in the show, which I found very funny. I'll find a picture of her at some point. But the Qasem Sultan, like, the actress is substantially younger than her. But it's very much like the Sultanate of MILFs is the vibe they're going for. And that's kind of why and part of it is because Sultan Murad is historically considered to be, like, that there was some kind of mental health going on with him. You know, that basically he was an alcoholic, first of all. That's confirmed. He died of cirrhosis age 28. You don't get to do that if you're not just pounding the drinks every day over and over again. And the kind of irony of it is he was a dog shit emperor when he was sober. But when he was drunk, he was actually reportedly quite good at it. And like made quite good reforms and decisions. And they were all made when he was just like blackout drunk. So when he woke up, he'd forget and they'd never get implemented.
That was something. Is it? I can't remember if it's the like ancient Greek government or the Roman Senate. It was that you'd have to debate topics twice, once sober and once drunk.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's Tyrion Lannister you're thinking of.
And in fairness, that bit about the he'd forget about it. People would write it down for him, so it's okay. Yeah, so this is the original Valide Sultan. This is the original like sultanate. This is the original woman who was in charge of the empire after during Suleiman's time. So this is the actress they got for the first show, and this woman was like old. She was like 70s, 80s, something like that. Miss Turkey 1960, and that was a recent picture of her at the time of the show. So you know, yeah. So you know, look, I suppose if you're rich, you can afford all sorts of things, you know. And good for you, you know. I'm not denying anyone their right to sort of look good in their 70s. But... So,
like, of the clips that you gave us, right, of this fucking Sultan Murad, right?
Yeah,
we've got some fucking incredible ones. Choice ones we've got are the bit where he goes into the tavern, overhears someone saying that he's a shithead or whatever, and then smashing a fucking pot over the cunt, and then ordering him beheaded.
Yeah, he specifically suggested that Sultan Murad killed his children, like his own children. That was like the specific accusation made, and they were praising his mum, This is a whole like Oedipal fucking thing with him. But yeah,
I was gonna say, it wasn't even. He smashes a jug over the guy's head with the jug smashing sound effect that everyone knows.
Yeah, smash.org, yeah.
Yeah. And then he commands one of his, or he doesn't even command the guy. The guy just like one of his like guards or whatever grabs one of the barrels of wine off of a shelf and gets the guy to just chug it.
That's the drama guy. He got to do it.
And that's the thing. The great thing though. The great thing about that scene though is once he finishes like making him chug this drink, the guy just literally just like on the floor looking dead.
That's a lot of wine.
That's what a night out with David Miliband would look like.
Being waterboarded with wine.
Yeah, that like I don't know. I got the impression he was like the executioner or something, but that like the drama guy with the little pedo tash. He was incredible. Him like
he's a great actor. I mean,
she loves drama. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the scene where Murad gets sick during the series because he's got cirrhosis.
I absolutely fucking loved this clip. It was so good.
Yeah, it's titled "You Either Take My Life or My Throne," which doesn't make any sense because it would be both. So you can tell they've not like got, but like Murad gets sick, and they say, hold on, I want to check that translation because it says my son Sultan Murad contracted the plague. Hold on. Oh, I want to listen to this. Oh, actually, yeah, I guess basically correct. But I thought that would be an exaggeration. But he keeps getting sick because he drinks so much. So he has cirrhosis, right? Like,
the Sultan's not here because he's hungover.
Yeah, I mean, no, but that would for real happen. And the thing is, like, the drama guy knows that Murad is well. That's the whole, like, trick here. So Murad is trying to prove people are being disloyal to him. And obviously, like, Qasem is like, we're gonna have my other son, Qasim, take over. And stuff like that. And the fact is that the army's meant to be loyal to him until he's, like, in the ground. So the fact that they were preparing another guy really offended him, and he just came in and had a meltdown about it.
Like, one trick is fucking entrapment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he just keeps tricking people into betraying him. And then wonders why this keeps happening.
Hey guys, I'm actually dead. And then being very mad when people act like you're actually dead.
Yeah.
People need to learn to ask him, like, are you the Sultan? Because if I ask you and you're the Sultan, you have to tell me.
You have to tell me, yeah, exactly.
But
yeah, happens in the pretty much almost what happens in the scene in the boat.
Yeah, the scene in the boat is one of my favorite scenes because it's one of these ones where they
before we move off the one where he's got plague, I really just want to reiterate how incredible the fucking like smirk on that executioner guy is. Because the mom's there giving it like, oh yeah, young'un here is going to take over the empire, and I'll still be around to keep him right and everything. Yeah. And then like he just comes in looking like fucking like, what the fuck's this about? And that guy just sort of like smirks because he's like, oh yeah, daddy's home, it's about to kick off. It's the exact face I make when I'm replying to people on Twitter.
We're gonna have to post that picture somewhere so people know what you're on about. It's really like, yeah, he knows. He's obviously in on it. He's Sultan Murad's guy. He knows what's going down, right? That's the whole trick of it. And yeah, that is kind of like the vibe of the entire series is of how they portray court drama is just a series of entrapments and people doing that smirk.
What's great about that clip as well is when he's like offering his family the sword so they can kill him and no one will take it. So then he just offers the entire fucking like army that's there out for a fight.
Yeah, like
I'll fucking like murder the lot of yous and then knock this entire building down. Like it's just, it's great.
But the thing is, this is how Ottoman sultans apparently did behave at times. They did do this kind of thing because the thing about like most Ottoman sultans, like after Selim II, which was Suleiman's son, is that they were all like really unstable. Like that's why this Sultanate of Women thing is a thing. They were all really unstable. Like Sultan Murad did go around yelling at people like this. He had outbursts and stuff. And this all sort of culminates and peaks with an Ottoman Sultan called Ibrahim the Insane, who is the wolf pelt guy. He's the wolf pelt one. Is it Ibrahim? It's something like that. Let me see. I'm going to type his Turkish nickname in and see if that comes up. but they call him Deli Ibrahim, which Ibrahim the Mad, but it does kind of mean like he was really so the deal with Ibrahim was so like I said, you have to kill your brother if you become the emperor.
Yeah.
So basically his brother becomes emperor first, but his brother doesn't have any kids, so they can't execute him yet because if they execute him, then it's fucking game over, right? The dynasty's done. And he is, I think, in real life, Ibrahim is the youngest brother of Murad. So I think he's actually the youngest brother of Murad. Or he's actually no, he is Murad's, he's the youngest brother of Murad. But he's sort of kept in what they call, like, the gilded cage, right? Because Murad's kids do not survive. And so he sort of he can't be killed, because if you kill him, then you're in big old trouble, right? And so his mum is Qasem, the famous Qasem. And it's one of these things where he is kept in the palace as insurance, but he keeps thinking every day when people come to him, they're gonna come and kill him, right? Because he thinks it's time. He's had a son. It's game over. Murad had a son. I guess I'm gonna be killed. It's done. And so he lives like this for years and years and years. Best part of a decade. He lives like this. So when he comes to the throne, he's an unstable guy. Because he spent most of his life on edge thinking he's about to be murdered.
Wow, I wonder why he took up drinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, Ibrahim took up wearing a pelt and assaulting women. Whereas Murad also, I guess, kind of did the same thing, to be fair. I think Murad took up drinking because he was just sort of... he died at 27. Wow, all of the real ones die at 27, huh? Murad died at 27 from cirrhosis. And... apparently there was a rumor on his deathbed that he ordered the execution of his brother Ibrahim, because Ibrahim was like, it was not going to go well, and it would have meant the end of the Ottoman line, which meant they didn't do it, obviously. But so like Emperor Cop's whole deal is that, and then you've got the scene in the boat, which I really like because it's actually like a surprising bit of character work, where Murad clearly likes the drunk boat guy. And so he's like...
I mean, how can you not? He was very charming.
He was charming, yeah, exactly. Like, it's good character work. It's a well-written character. Well acted. That actor did a really good job,
Also, it's like the fucking second season of Amazon's Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, where, like, only one guy knows how to work the boat, so if they'd, like, killed him, they'd just be stuck in the middle of that river forever.
Would have been the Bosphorus, or, like, the Golden Horn. So not quite a river, but, like, it would have been pretty bad to be stuck there, let's put it that way. But yeah, like, it was one of those things where Murad was just kind of like, you know what, I like you. Just don't do it where I can see you, and you'll be fine. Right. And I kind of like that. I like that sort of thing. And that's the thing about these shows that I kind of want to like make sure people know, is that these are well-made shows. Like, these are well-written shows, well-made shows. Production's good. They put the money and the time into it, which you don't see in like a lot of European-y prestige dramas, I guess. Sometimes they're going off sort of source material and completely fuck it. Don't know what one I'm talking about there. Who knows?
What they should do with this is they should take all the scenes in Game of Thrones that are set in Dawn and just take them out and just throw random scenes from this in. Yeah, and it would improve the show. It would make everything better. Yeah,
I do kind of lean on my partner's sort of thing where she's like, if only these people who made the show made Game of Thrones, it would probably be quite a good show. Like, I would probably watch it. Like,
I'd be interested to see how the outcome would be if the same guys got their hands on like the Walking Dead script.
Yeah.
lots of open palm slapping zombies in the face.
Slapping a zombie so hard its jaw comes off. Like... Also, I was looking through the group chat that we had, and this desk setup looks extremely comfy, and it does.
Oh yeah, like my man's got a desk that's probably about 1 foot off the floor, and like this extremely comfortable looking chair. Which my only criticism of the setup is it looks like the chair could have a slightly higher up back, and then it would be like absolutely pitch perfect. Like you could just, you could cross your legs pretty comfortably. You could like just stretch your legs fully out. I'm fully on board with this. Although James said it looked like hell, but they are bendy in all the wrong places.
As they said, yeah. But yeah, I yeah. Oh, sorry, David. Go ahead.
No, I just think it would be a really good idea to get those for the podcast because we could eliminate Rob's squeaky chair.
Yeah.
we're replacing all the podcast equipment chairs with bean bags and cushions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we just have to edit a bunch of like slaps and beheadings out of the fucking pod audio.
Hands getting cut off because people are taking I feel like that guy with the smirk is me taking your Patreon money. I feel like that's what that guy with the smirk is, right?
Yeah.
Me receiving my Patreon tithe from the hogs, in my giant onion hat.
I tell you what I loved most about these clips was that obviously the guy's like cop emperor, but he doesn't get given a badge. Instead of a badge, he has a guy that just yells his name.
Yep.
And a big sword with that's like, I don't know, is it gilded? Is that what we'd call that?
Yeah, I'd say that's what it is.
But just think of like you could get away with fucking murder back then if you just had a guy who could convincingly shout the emperor's name when you walked into a room.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no way to know this is the real Murad. Yeah. Sultan Murad Han Hazretleri. Who the fuck knows what he looks like? No one would know.
Well, I mean that's a core part of his bit, isn't it? People people see him coming down the street and just hide all the wine.
Yeah, but the thing about him is he's sort of the way he's dressed in like the scenes where he's on the cover is he's wearing like peasant's garb, but it's still like the nicest clothes I've ever fucking seen in a period drama.
It looks way nicer than anything I own.
It's fucking dripped out. I kind of want to wear the judge's onion hat. If we ever do a Peace at Home live show. Should it ever happen, I will show up dressed as the judge who took bribes. just in that exact turban as well.
Yeah, catch one of the listeners smoking and just fucking
just
Texas Chainsaw Massacre them on a hook.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other shows I showed you
I guess that was back in the times before your dad invented making you smoke the whole packet at once.
Yeah, instead the emperor will come by and put you on a hook.
Yeah, son, you're gonna have to smoke the whole shisha.
Yeah. Oh, God, I quit smoking, so that's really hitting. It's hitting. You can't make me want to smoke on the podcast. You absolutely cannot do that to me. But yeah, I also like that Kuruluş Osman show, but I didn't share very much of it because there wasn't very much English translation of it. So I shared that song. And the thing about that singer is that he's a guy called Arslanbek Sultanbekov. And his whole thing is that he wrote a song called Dombra, which is the name of an instrument. But it got put over a clip from a film about Genghis Khan. And so it became immediately the most popular song in Turkey for a year. And it was so popular that Erdogan hired the guy to write his election campaign song to the tune of that song.
Wow.
Yeah, and now the guy's appearing in TV shows and, doing this.
When you say it was really popular for a year, I'm going to imagine that the guy is Turkish Bryan Adams and that the song was like the Turkish equivalent of that fucking Robin Hood theme thing he did. Everything I Do or something?
Yeah, it's really weird. It's very weird because every clip I see of it has sort of subtitles in. So the guy is, I think he's from Russia or something like that, but he's not he's from a group of people called the Nogai, and he's singing it in Nogai because that's the language he speaks, and but every single thing I see of it has translations of it underneath in Turkish, and sometimes it's okay, I kind of understand it, and then sometimes it's just completely different fucking words, and I'm just oh good, okay, good job they had the translation there, otherwise I would not have known that. But yeah, he's from Russia. Yeah, he was born in the Soviet Union, in fact. He's actually younger than my parents, which I find hard to believe. But yeah, he had one very famous song, and it's just been eaten off it forever. And you know what, credit where it's due, fair play, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do one thing and then not have to do anything anymore.
Yeah, it's like Alien Ant Farm and Smooth Criminal, which they didn't even do, and they get to eat off it forever.
God, I hate their version of Smooth Criminal.
Their version is better than the original version.
It's not.
I find it much less irritating.
Nah. Sorry,
Hold on,
man.
I
find Alien Ant Farm peak irritating.
I've just got just the emote for this occasion. I'm gonna put in the chat. There you go. We have an Alien Ant Farm emote on my Discord.
Oh my god.
because what happened was the fire alarm kept going off during one of my streams as I was doing a rant about Alien Ant Farm, and so I blamed them for it. And so now we have an Alien Ant Farm emote as a kind of guess who fucked it sort of thing. Guess who set off the fire alarm? It was Alien Ant Farm again, thwarting my critique of their seminal work These Days, where they talk about being arrested for saying you're English.
Yeah.
Arsonist Ant Farm.
Yeah, that's, calling you out, Alien Ant. I think Alien Ant Farm liked one of my tweets ages and ages ago. Just a really funny thing that I saw on my notifications. Alien Ant Farm liked this tweet, and I think I was calling someone a twat or something. I was like, oh, cool, Alien Ant Farm hate melts too. There you go. But yeah, did you want to talk about regular Prestige shows? Because I got a ton of Prestige shows to slam.
I mean, yeah, just to tie off this part then, like, how does this compare? Like, this Turkish Prestige stuff, does it actually, like, fully compare to quality-wise, or is it just, like, its own fucking league of stuff?
Like, I think it's, like, really good. I think they're made with the foreign audience in mind, so they come across really good. But it's one of those things where if you didn't have any, like, cultural context to it, you would probably not recognize a lot of what's happening is just, like, you're being propaganded to, right?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of it is. But, like, if you just enjoy it as a show, as a spectacle, because there are, like, inaccuracies and stuff, and my partner's like, you get so wound up about the inaccuracies. Like, you know, like that Mongol guy who had a very peaceful reign, but is apparently beefing with some small-time loser. Because, like, I find it very funny to imagine, like, the honest-to-God, like, fourth most powerful person in the world beefing with some nomad in Anatolia. Just, like, that's apparent, but that's what the narrative demanded.
It's a metaphor, Sinan, for Elon Musk's, like, Twitter.
Gehatu Khan is, in fact, Elon Musk of his age in that show. But, yeah, like, I guess I would compare, like, Dirilish Ertuğrul and Kuruluş Osman to, like, Vikings. Like, that, it's more of a Vikings kind of show, where it's sort of more gritty, kind of, because it's kind of interpreting people who we don't know a lot about on their personal lives. Well, like, Ragnar Lothbrok is straight up made up, anyway. So, like, everyone jot that down. Sorry to ruin Ragnar Lothbrok for you all. But he is basically a made up fiction person. But, like, these are people we don't know a lot about, and some of them are kind of semi-mythical in their own way, even though they existed in the 13th century, which is a bit late to have semi-mythical people wandering around, but Turkey does it better, I guess, than everyone else. So, yeah, like, that, and I think it compares quite well to it. The only problem is that, like, the narrative arcs and shows are very long, so each season is, like, 32 episodes, right?
Jeez.
25 to 32 episodes. I think it's like 25 to 40 episodes. Episodes are like, so for like Dirilish Ertuğrul and Kuruluş Osman, the episode lengths mercifully are like 45 minutes. So it's not like 2.5 hours. Muhteşem Yüzyıl had a massive controversy, and so like that's the sort of more Süleyman Murad stuff. Mm-hmm. They had a massive controversy because they started putting out 2.5 hour long episodes because it was for advertising purposes. Because these shows were so popular, the TV station demanded they extend the episodes.
Oh my god.
So that they could get more ads. It's kind of like how YouTube incentivizes you to release videos that are like 12 minutes long exactly. Because that's just like the correct length to get the second ad break in. So in case anyone's wondering why a lot of YouTube videos are like bang 11:59 minutes, like that's why. Just a heads up from someone who knows that bullshit very well. And who also ignores it and makes 50-minute long videos about brain melting. So,
yeah, I would like absolutely watch the police cop Sultan guy if it wasn't like fucking thousands of hours, because I haven't got that much of an attention span these days. But it is good. But the thing is, when you're watching the clips, and he's like, "Oh, I caught this guy like having a fucking sneaky bifter. I'm gonna fucking like murder him in the street." It seems like very like you would look at it and you would go, well, that's a bit like fucking unjustifiable. But is it really that different from, like, say, Hawaii Five-0, where they just, like, you know what I mean, strip some guy of his fucking, like, human rights because they caught him, like, doing a line of coke or some shit?
It fits that same kind of space as the cop show. I mean, we've been calling him fucking Cop Emperor half the time here. Like,
yeah,
it's fitting because it does fit that space where it's all about teaching you what is right and wrong and what the state has decided is right and wrong.
And yeah, this is part of the state propaganda element of it, right? Because he's punishing people for drinking alcohol, he's punishing people for smoking tobacco, he's punishing people for drinking coffee. Now, getting Turkish people to stop doing any of those things is impossible. But there's this sort of point that I forget who it was made, which is that this wave of shows that have come out, they started coming out. So Muhteşem Yüzyıl, the original thing, came out a few months before Game of Thrones. So if anything, Game of Thrones copied them by release date comparison. Well, they were being made at the same time, basically. And
yeah, I did like one of the clips, one of the like town that they're in looks exactly like I forgot the name again. The castle, Winterfell, yeah.
Winterfell,
but like with different lighting.
And there's this I forget what it was, but the point they made was that, like, the things that are produced, like, pop culture wise, are intended to reflect elements of society, and it's reflecting this sort of new middle class, in quotes, because let's be real, like, middle class doesn't really exist anywhere anymore anyway. But it's to reflect this sort of new middle class who have their, like, you know, fancy TVs and stuff, and they want to see stuff that says what they want to hear back at them. Like everyone, right? It's the same reason why, like, people watch my YouTube videos, because I'm saying the things they're already thinking, right? I know what they want. I know what the hogs want. You know,
it's why nerds watch The Big Bang Theory.
Well, yeah. As much as I hate that show, there's a reason. There's a demand for that show. I remember someone was saying, like, someone was critiquing this idea that, like, TV show, so like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever, is propaganda as, like, leftist cope because there's actually a legitimate demand for it, as opposed to, like, you know, capital dictating what these things make. But I'm like, the legitimate demand must be related somehow to the demands of capital, I imagine. Yeah. That doesn't, and also it's reflecting part of what society believes back at society. You know, like, they want to see, I forget his fucking name, the dickhead from Lonely Island. They want to see him being a funny cop, making the guys in the lineup sing "I Want It That Way." Yeah. You know, they want to see that. That's like the one scene I know from that show. So they want to see that. That's what that's part, and it's the same here. They want to see, you know, small c conservative, vaguely Islamic law implemented, and that's kind of what people like about Ertuğrul and Osman. The thing that people keep mentioning about them is that it's like a family vibe. You know, it's about putting your arm around your family and defending them, and because it's a much more small stakes show with a much more small stakes figure. And it's about, you know, taking care of each other and making sure that the Mongol emperor doesn't come and stab you in the liver, which is the threat that he made to
I mean, we're all
Osman. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, just in case Elon Musk shows up and stabs you in the liver and demands that you return his son to him.
Elon Musk turns up at your door and just implants a microchip into your brain completely against your wishes.
I'm now imagining Elon Musk as Gerhartu in that show, and it would land about as well as his "I'm rich, bitch" line.
I feel like the onion hat would suit him, actually.
Yeah, maybe I'll Photoshop him into. Anyway, I'll think about that. Maybe for something else. But yeah, I think these shows compare quite well generally. Like, they are of equal quality, but they're obviously from a particular context. And I think a lot of foreign audiences miss that context and get taken in by it a little bit. But it's the same with everything. No one's immune to propaganda, especially the person who says that, by the way. Yeah. So, there you go.
Think about the kind of propaganda way that this stuff does kind of work, and it is that kind of, like, reflection back, and that's why people want it. Like, Western stuff, like, cop shows are obvious propaganda. Like, it's obvious fucking, you know, propaganda's a thing, fair enough. I'm trying to think of, like, other things that you could also call propaganda in, like, prestige TV, and if anything, I'm constantly coming up with, nope, that's definitely not it, and every single one of them just kind of lays bear what we live in and how it's shit in some way of its own. Like The Sopranos is very much the state's fucking hopeless. It's shit at what it's doing. It can't fucking catch these blatant fucking criminals, and look at them, they're all actually funny as fuck.
I mean,
They're just endearing.
Sort of to that point. Look, I mean, just think about Breaking Bad, a TV show that wouldn't exist if America had healthcare.
Yeah, exactly, right?
There's obviously, like, there are the scenes where Walt is having to pay, like, $10,000 in cash or whatever for his, his scans or his surgery or whatever. But, like, the criticism is... there is not... not even criticism of the system that they exist in, which is, sort of the American South and the role of the state in their lives. I mean, obviously, it's not really a show about that. It's about a good guy who gets pushed to becoming a bad guy, essentially.
Yeah.
But, like, it is taken as read that this is the way things are. And
damn, this Jesse guy with authority issues is actually really, really smart. If only the school system based around authority hadn't completely fucking failed him.
Mm.
Yeah, I think there must definitely be some prestige stuff that's propaganda. Like, I've never watched it, but I don't imagine The Crown shows Prince Andrew
being unable to sweat.
As an example.
Well,
I've watched
one of these
The Crown,
things,
and it's very fucking weird. Like, there is some absolute fucking unfiltered ideology flowing through it at times, and then at other times it's like, you really have undermined a lot of what you've done here, but there's no, like, rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, it's a really weird show. It's a really weird show. Like, I think to the Andrew
not sweating
stuff, there is, like, one scene I remember where Andrew is, like, weirdly into a sexual depiction of someone under the age of 18, and they take great care to show the Queen giving a fuck that they were under 18. They take, like, extreme care to show that she did give a shit about it, and I'm like, yeah, but then she also, in real life,
didn't care how sweaty he wasn't.
So I don't know how much she actually cared about it, right?
I mean,
yeah, it's like how there's always,
as far as, like, showing, like, actually acting out the fucking phone conversation between Charles and Camilla about tampon.
I fucking hated that.
Yeah, it was so fucking difficult to watch. It was fucking awful.
Especially because I already knew what happened.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for it, and then I realised that it was happening, and but, like, they didn't have to do that. It doesn't serve any positive purpose in a propaganda sense to actually do it, because he doesn't come off, like, well from it at all. He's absolutely, the character is absolutely fucking demonised for doing it.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's one of these weird ones where I think the West has got less good at that kind of propaganda, right? Or, like, it can only do it in very particular ways. So you mentioned, like, cop shows. One of the things I thought about was, like, 24, right? Like, that. Actually, I don't know if that quite qualifies as prestige, but, like, yeah, like, that was one of the first things that came into my head.
Yeah, when I was watching these clips of the guy just, like, fucking, cutting about, like, chopping people up for fucking minor infractions and stuff without a trial. 24 was one of the first fucking points of comparison I came up with, because it's like there's a certain kind of person where if you showed them, like, like putting a guy on a fucking hook for smoking, or like having people beheaded for fucking drinking or whatever, there's a certain kind of person who would kick off about, like, how all these people are barbarians and all this sort of shit, but then they're the same people who, like, cheer when Kiefer Sutherland, like, fucking shoots some guy's face off just for, like, looking at him Muslimly or whatever.
There's actually a show that's kind of equivalent to 24 in Turkey, I guess, called Kurtlar Vadisi, which means
31.
No. You have 31. You have to edge for 31 hours, otherwise this bomb's going to blow up in this school.
The weirdest ad I've ever seen on a torrent site. You can't come for 31 hours.
So the opposite, this will make you come in 10 seconds thing. But this show's called Kurtlar Vadisi, which means Valley of the Wolves. And the thing about that show is it does this sort of 24 anti-terrorism thing, but it basically just acts out revenge fantasies against whoever the perceived enemy of Turkey is at a given time. and they have like movies, right? They have movies, so they have like Kurtlar Vadisi Iraq, right, where they go into Iraq and they specifically humiliate Americans. Like they go out because what happened in the Iraq War. This is sort of like an incident that no one in England is going to know about because who gives a fuck. But in the Iraq War, Turkey maintained bases in Iraq because as part of its ongoing campaign against basically any group that thinks Kurdish people are people.
Yeah.
And America showed up to one of these things and forced the Turkish soldiers to surrender and put bags over their head and bound their hands. And this entire show, this entire movie is basically about... So basically, this heroes of Kurtlar Vadisi are basically like, you know, specialist armed military police intelligence type people, right? And the whole film is dedicated to creating a scenario where they can force the Americans into having to do the same thing as they made the Turkish soldiers do. And it's just such a weird, like, Saw-esque, you have to be ironically punished type thing. It's one of the, like... And I've watched this film, and I think they got, like, a proper big American actor, like, to play the asshole American, of course. And they got, like... I'm pretty sure Jean-Claude Van Damme appeared in a Turkish film I watched, but it wasn't that. I know Jean-Claude Van Damme appeared in a Turkish film about stealing the exam answers before and then cheating on your university entrance exam, which is probably one of my favourite films, actually. It's a really good film. But it was like some washed-up American action actor who they made be the, like, horrible American commander who they're getting revenge on. And it's... one of the most insane films I've ever watched. And there are a bunch of them. There's like Kurtlar Vadisi Gaza, about basically there was a flotilla, Turkish flotilla, that was going to give humanitarian aid to people in Gaza, and they were sort of boarded by the Israeli Navy and also their armed forces and were forced to redirect. But they specifically wanted revenge on Israel as well and stuff like that. So it just serves all of this weird nationalist stuff. But again, I would say Kurtlar Vadisi is better than 24 as terms of production and just how insane it is.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of I think a comparable version, like almost British version of 24 is it The Bodyguard or Bodyguard? I can't remember what.
Oh yeah, so the one that Rob Stark was in.
Yeah. And it's just, but with the ending, spoiler alert, that it's basically, so it's all the Muslim woman's plan to blow up all the, I can't remember what they blow up in that show, but
your mentions
very
getting a jihad declared on my mentions on Twitter.com.
Yeah, like just absolutely at the last moment where it could have been like, oh, actually, like these guys are more complicated than what most Western media portrays terrorism as. No, they're just bad guys, and also the woman was in on it as well.
Yeah, I know libs get like fucking properly moist about how we must protect the precious impartial BBC. The BBC does a fucking absolutely savage line in fawning like propaganda for the British state. They've always got some shit going on where it's like the cops are like the only thing fucking left that can save the world. You know, all that stands between us and chaos, or like the British spies are like fucking...
It's that show, fucking Spooks, isn't it? That other one, yeah.
Spooks, yeah. And that one about the fucking bent coppers that everyone was like absolutely insane about a couple of years back.
I saw precisely one good meme from that, and I think it was Tom Usher who was like, every Premier League football manager in 2005, 2009, I'm only interested in bent, like Darren Bent, like, which, if you're a football person, you get. So, but Line of Duty. Line of Duty. The thing about the British ones is they're not even that good.
No,
like they're not even produced that well. It kind of is a nice highlight of how small time Britain is in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
is just compare the like quality of product that Turkey's making compared to Britain in general. I would say.
I mean, even the British ones where you'd watch it and you'd like, you know, enjoy it, like, as long as you fucking accept that it is just total fucking horseshit from end to end. Something like, say, like, what's the one Idris Elba was in?
Luther?
Yeah. Like, Luther is like fairly well made, and like, you know, the cast are like very likable and good at what they do, but the fucking actual like the actual plots are just some Daily Mail like fucking like fantasy. You know what I mean? There's just, there's like a serial killer in London every 20 minutes. You know,
somehow it's all Sadiq Khan's fault.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about
an effective fucking cop show that tries to portray the cops as like just infallibly good. That's British, and I'm kind of struggling. Maybe Life on Mars, because that was all about how you remember when the cops were hard.
Yeah, but even that doesn't feel like it quite lands it. It doesn't stick the landing at times. I think there's this like streak that a lot of British people, British people end up writing this stuff is where they're like, I have to kind of go against type a little bit, but they do it in the most awkward fucking way possible, and it completely undermines the purpose of the exercise.
It's that kind of weird self-deprecating way. Like, I'm incredibly socially awkward. I am. So I'm just going to make a bunch of incredibly self-deprecating comments. Please like me.
Yeah.
Are there actually any like uncritical cop shows though? Because I think they all at some point do the thing where it's like, there's just a few bad apples, and like the good cops will take care of them.
Yeah, they all sort of push this idea that like there are problems, but also the problems are very fixable because ultimately everyone's a nice guy and we're all on the same side, and you know, all of this stuff. And you see, this is Brooklyn Nine-Nine's in my head when I think of this.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely enjoyable show. If you switch off your brain, it's completely fine. You know, I like the heist episodes where they're trying to steal the thing, and that's kind of funny. But, like, they're cops, and they're still cops. And there's this scene. There's this one scene where they're like, we need to have good cops because that's how we, you know, figure out who catch the bad cops and sort that stuff out. I'm like, this is such fucking horseshit, though.
Yeah.
It's such a misunderstanding of like the one bad apple analogy, right? Because was it one bad apple spoils the lot, isn't it? Like that's the whole fucking idea. That's the whole point. And the point is that this is a system that produces bad apples. I don't know whether anyone who's going out of their way to become law enforcement for anything other than a quick paycheck is, you know, a redeemable character at the end of the day. But yeah, I was thinking about like Game of Thrones as a point of comparison with some of this.
Yeah.
And like how, as much as like the source material for like Muhteşem Yüzyıl is like actual history and like Sultan Süleyman's like personal poems and stuff, how much of a better job it does sticking the landing. It does wane as a series as time goes on, but it really sticks the landing for much more running time than Game of Thrones. Which I think probably after season 4 probably is fucked. I would say.
4 for you? Right, okay. See,
I would say 4 or 5. Like 4 or 5, maybe 5's okay. But I kind of lose it after then. Like I think like part of it is that you have to treat it as a separate thing from the books.
See, I haven't read the books because I don't have the patience for that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fine up to 6 because that ends on a 9/11. And then it all goes completely downhill after that.
Yeah. I mean, once you've 9/11
art imitates life on that.
Yeah. I mean, once you've 9/11 something, I mean, is there really anything more to add at that point?
I think the thing with Game of Thrones and like a bunch of other prestige shows is they go really, really like fucking like hard at the start, you know. They're like, we've got to do this right. It's a new thing we're doing. We've got to make sure it lands. So they put in a ton of effort early on, but then it gets enough like cultural fucking cachet, that it's just rolling on its own hype, and they just stop fucking trying. It's the same with like Walking Dead, where the first couple of episodes are like really good. Frank Darabont's like moved heaven and earth to get that show made, and he's like really put a lot of effort into it. And then it's really well received and like really popular. And so he asks, can we have a bit more money so we can like keep making it this well? And they just go, no, you're fired, mate. And then they just let a bunch of fucking like children write all the episodes from that point on. It's like literally one of the worst shows I've ever fucking watched.
It's so fucking bad.
Yeah, that's probably what the fate of like the Witcher show is going to be.
Yeah,
reasonably soon.
Yeah.
I would say that's.
Well, they've got pod favorite fucking like Independence Day resurgence guy, haven't they? So.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, at a certain point it's inevitable because these things are... Like, a lot of the money these shows make, so if you're not on HBO, because HBO is a subscription service, is from selling the rights abroad.
It's not called HBO anymore, they're changing it to Max.
Oh, I don't give a shit, I'm going to call it HBO.
They really hate when people can find them on search engines, apparently.
Yeah. And now I have to call it Max's Rome. I won't be doing that. I'll be calling it HBO's Rome forever. Another, by the way, a great historical prestige drama, but like completely like fucked itself.
Well, they got killed off in the second, midway through the production of the second season, didn't they? They was like, yeah, that's enough of that. Cram like 50 years of history into like 5 episodes. Thanks, bye.
Yeah, it was a great show, and to be fair, they did really well given what the circumstances were. But also, like, the first season of Rome is like, because Rome came out around 2000, I want to say.
It's a bit later than that, but yeah.
Bit later, maybe it was 2005. So. Yeah, like, it was probably around the time Rome Total War came out, actually, now I think about it. Which, Rome was big at the time, I guess. But the thing is, like, the quality of show back then was... So, like Rome stands out for a show back then, because shows were just worse. They were poorer production value. Whereas, like, Rome really, like, it holds up.
Yeah.
And part of the reason...
absolutely. I've rewatched it quite recently.
Yeah, like, I watch it all the time because I'm always on something and I go, I was watching HBO's Rome recently whenever I'm on anyone's thing. And, yeah, like, they actually put a lot of... You could tell there was a lot of effort put into that first season. And the second season, it's not their fault that, like, they got the plug pulled on.
Yeah.
But that just does seem to happen because Rome was, up until that point, I think the most expensive TV show ever made.
Yes.
Which is, by the way, you can tell, because in the year of our Lord 2022, it's still, watchable in almost every way. History's a bit wrong, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when one of the, I can't remember if it was one of the producers or the writer or director or whatever, said they weren't trying to create accurate history, they were trying to make it period accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably fine, by the way, because no one knows the minutiae of the first and second Roman civil wars. Like, no one knows who the boat king Sextus is, right? No one knows. It would be a really interesting thing to have in a TV show, but no one fucking knows, right? So, like, no one's gonna miss it. Or, like, no one's gonna know... So that you can tell I, like, watch a YouTube channel about Roman history a lot. But one of the things that I find really interesting is there's that scene where they cut Roman free, where like Mark Antony shows up with like a wicked hangover, and it's like, you will have to speak very softly to me because I got really pissed at this wedding. And they divide Rome into 3. And so like they have Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus. And Lepidus is always like the sort of making up the numbers member of the triumvirate in the show. And he gets, like, foisted with Africa and stuff. And they're just, like... They kind of do it as a joke to him. But the thing is, like, in the actual history, Lepidus was the senior partner because he was actually Caesar's number 2 guy when he died. So I always find that kind of weird to watch, where Lepidus is just, like, this mousy guy who's really useless. When, in fact, he was probably the most competent of the 3 of them. He just got kind of shafted because he wasn't bribing everyone. Or accepting insane gifts from Herod, the guy who kills babies. Like, I found that really weird, was Herod showing up in Rome. And just being like, I hear Roman men don't solicit bribes. However, I'm gonna bribe you.
However, we do accept gifts.
Yeah. You must offer it as a gift. And Mark Antony's like, yep, we are really, really hypocritical. I would like a substantial gift, please. Like, I do also like that scene where Octavian confronts him about the gift, and he's like, "What's 1/3 of 20,000?" And Mark Antony just gives him the straight answer, like gives him the actual mathematical answer, and he's like, "Do you take me for a fool?" And he's like, "Question after question." It's really poor conversation, like just winding the cunt up. because he can. Great casting as well. I think that's something that's underrated in a lot of these shows, is how good the casting is as well, or how important the casting is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like Rome nailed it. I think Game of Thrones did a really good job of it. Even though like book nerds complain because they're like, they don't look like the descriptions. Who gives a shit? It's a different thing. It's a different fucking thing.
The endless videos you get recommended on YouTube back then, where it was like fucking, actually, like Tyrion should look like this, and they'd like fucking, do you know what I mean, sculpted a mutilated guy, and it's like, yeah, but why do you care that much? Why is it so important that like the fucking guy on the show look that grim to you? You know.
There was one that was like the real Tyrion Lannister, but it wasn't done as like a show gripe. It was like, hey, if you're wondering, this is what he's described as in the book after the Battle of the Blackwater, where he gets his face hacked off.
These were like just endless videos from like that kind of guy, you know?
Is it the same as that guy who thinks the video game awards were hacked by Russia? Is it that exact genre of guy? Because it was. I just saw that video recently, and I was like, oh my fucking god. I need to just like log off. So once I've put this new stuff out, I'm just done. No,
it's the same kind of guy that was really mad about all the fucking bricks in Andor.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the kind of guy we all like fucking yelled at on the Movie Time Baby episode.
Yeah,
you know that guy that had the little fucking action figure of Gina Carano stuck to his microphone stand.
Oh my god, that's so fucking sad. That's so sad. Oh my god.
Just logging on the internet to tell everyone how like fucking Catherine, what's her name, has like ruined Star Wars forever while sitting in front of a literal wall of Funko Pops still in the boxes.
Yeah, I could never own a Funko Pop. I am over the age of 13, so
yeah,
just could not do it.
Andor's a great fucking example of a good prestige show that does like it definitely has elements of propaganda, but like the state for which that propaganda is for does not yet exist.
So like the thing about Andor is how much of it is explicitly based off like the early Bolsheviks, right? Like
yeah,
the payroll robbery, like 1-to-1 with a bank robbery Stalin actually did, right? But the thing about it being, I think there's sort of this thing where we kind of get way too into that sort of thing, just because they're like, oh yeah, we based it on Stalin. That's really cool, and it is a good show. Like it's a good show, and of all the characters they could have picked to make a show about, I would have picked Andor last. Mm-hmm. Like he's the most low stakes character, but they made it work.
Oh, they absolutely did. Yeah,
I think that's why it worked though, because if they'd picked like a more sort of like prominent character, Disney would have been all over it with like, well, you've got to explain where he got his shoes from. The fans will want to know that. You know what I mean? By picking someone who's just like not that important in the grand scheme of the Star Wars lore, the guy's clearly allowed to just like do what he wants to do rather than what is mandated by the fucking polling from like YouTube nerd guys.
Yeah, the thing I always... I liked the anthology films when we were getting... Like, I liked Rogue One, and I liked Solo. I think Solo got panned, got, like, a negative reaction, because people were pissed off at The Last Jedi for the wrong reason.
I love The Last Jedi, but I fucking hated Solo.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of the other way around, where I didn't really vibe with The Last Jedi. I didn't mind it. I just was like, it's okay. We can I think the things that bothered me weren't, like, the fact that the known hot-headed dipshit who got demoted wasn't getting let in on the plan, or like the sort of the hyperspace through the ship. That shit was cool. That was really cool. But like, the thing about like the anthologies was they were like low stakes stories, right? Because once you've done like Palpatine comes, spoiler alert, by the way, for episode 9, not that anyone is going to watch it, but like Palpatine comes back and is like mega Palpatine. Somehow he's returned.
That's actually a spoiler for Fortnite, by the way.
Oh god. Yeah, like I like the anthologies because they're low stakes. Because you can only really go low stakes now. It's kind of like the thing the MCU's gonna have, where they once you've done Thanos, like what the fuck do you do next?
Yeah.
Like genuinely, what do you do next? Just fucking chill, you know.
Do
some low stakes stuff. Double Thanos. I mean,
wearing a glove on each arm.
Yeah. God, just had a really cursed thought that I'm not going to say out loud on this podcast.
62. Right, okay. On that note, I think we should probably wrap it up here. So thank you very much, Sinan, for coming on. Tell us where people can find you and what you have done recently.
Yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/SKTheCrusader, where I'm streaming. This is coming out, when this is coming out, I'll be in the middle of my sort of New Year's sort of schedule where I'll be fucking around and drinking a lot and having a nice time. I'm also on YouTube, youtube.com/SKTheCrusader. By the time this is out, I'll probably have another video out, which will be criticizing one of our favorite left-wing podcasters for constantly telling us to vote Labour, so that's going to be fun. I'm sure there'll be no backlash. Like, I'm sure that will go down. No one will notice it. It won't be a big deal. It'll all be fine. And you can also find me and Jamie alongside our friend Ben at Peace at Home, which is our podcast where I melt.
Along with Music by Jordan, who's the left-wing podcaster you're going to start beef with in that YouTube video, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'm going to start complaining about people demanding credit for their work.
They do just say as you get older, you become more conservative, so...
Yeah, just going to become a full debate bro, but about intellectual property.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's where you could find me. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
For
us, our streaming schedule is a bit all over the place at the moment, presumably. Quite probably because we've got more streams going on. I'll be doing a couple of streams here and there where possible. So just keep a little eye out on Twitter, which is at PraxisCast. Follow the Twitch, which is twitch.tv/PraxisCast. And if you want some bonus episodes, including a bonus episode about Die Hards 3 and 5, which we recorded for Christmas, then go join the Patreon. You will find that amongst others there. And I think that's... Oh yeah, buy merch.
Buy merch.
But buy merch anyway. You get Christmas money now. People gave you money.
Spend your Christmas money on the new shirt we put out to tie in with that bonus episode we just mentioned.
Yes, do that. And hope you have a nice new year.
Aye.
Cheers, everyone.
Happy New Year. Have a good one, everyone.
Catch you later.